G'day, Mick from Z Australia. Today we're going to go through the process of assembling a 700E-XL wood pellet smoker. It's important to unpack both boxes and every single component, lay them out in front of us so we know exactly where everything is. You'll find in here a little pair of gloves. These are great for when we start handling some of the oily components later on in the assembly process. All the components are stuffed inside the drum here, so it's quite heavy, too heavy to lift out. So let's cut the front of the box open so we can get access. So the first thing to do is grab the manual and the toolkit here and put this over to the side. We're going to need that in a sec. In terms of getting everything out of the grill here, it's packed in very, very tight. So let's start off by pulling the foam out. The next step, we want to cut this thick cable tie, which is holding everything together here. Once we've removed the cable tie, we can take out the little blocks of foam, and that'll allow us to pull out this baffle, slide out this triangle box. To get the hopper assembly out, start by getting the foam from behind here. We can then slide the whole box out towards the left to get it from underneath this lip. We've got everything out of the drum. Now we can open up the second box here. So we've got our grill rack, top grill rack, one of our front doors. Inside here we have our grill handle and also our two door handles. Second door, the grease tray, it's covered in plastic. Let's leave that covered for the moment. Back plate for our bottom cabinet cover, cabinet left and right panels, base of the cabinet, top bracket for the cabinet. That's it. Before we continue, let's also open these little boxes here. So in here we've got the handle for the grill, our chimney assembly. Inside this box is the top of our hopper, and inside here, our grease bucket. Now everything's unpacked, we can start the fun part, which is the assembly process. Make sure you do use the manual because it explains very clearly which components are required. They're all numbered, 52, 53, makes it very, very simple, and you can follow along with the step-by-step instructions on how to assemble, which is what we'll do now in the video. You've also got your two food temperature probes. Let's start by popping out the screwdriver, the spanner, and this top row of screws here, which we'll need for the first part of the process. Step one, starting with our base of the cabinet here and putting on our wheels. Now there are two types of wheels, with a lock and without a lock. So you can put the one with a lock at the rear of the grill, or if you're going to have it close to a wall and moving it maybe left and right often, you might want to put that at the front. Totally up to you. The front is where these two little screws are here, which is where the door and the cabinet is going to go. So I'm going to lay this down, which means here is now the rear. So this is now the time to put on your sexy gloves, because there's a bit of grease on the ball bearings on here. Now the technique for doing these up is very simple. Thumb, 2 forefingers, and rotate. You may notice I'm using a table here. Definitely easier to do this whole process on a table than at ground level. Your knees will thank you. Once they're finger tight, spanner, don't over tighten things. Let's put the wheels to the outside and lock them both. So when we flip it, doesn't roll away. Next step is to put on this little magnet and bracket, which was in together with the wheels. Two little screws out, rectangles to the front. In terms of putting the magnets in, they've got little wings that clip into place. So you want to push in from the front, push the magnet through, and then pop the two little wings out. We can now put on the left and right panels. Note that this extended part goes towards the front. Two of our number 52 screws, just finger tight for the moment is fine. We'll do them up tight later on once everything's down at ground level. Front brace with the arrow up. If you want a fun drinking game, you can count how many times I drop screws. Oh, I'll edit those out. You'll be drunk by the end, that's for sure. Now this is assembled, we can put this over to the side. Step 6 is a hopper assembly, so the base here and the top. We're going to start by undoing these two screws here to put the handle on, with the handle pointing down. Okay. Next, put the hopper on top of here. We need these 4 little cap nuts and 4 little screws, so number 63 and number 60. And we want this orientated towards the front like this. Important tip here, take the manual and put it inside the hopper so that when you're putting the screw on the nut, you don't accidentally drop this down inside the auger. So screw on the outside and the little cap nut, KEP cap nut, on the inside. I'm going to be a bit naughty and jump ahead a couple of steps and put the handle on the hopper right now. We want these 2 little tiny black screws and black washers. Now make sure you do the first one up just loose, so then you can orientate the second hole nicely before you do it up tight. Okay. What we're going to do now is lift the drum up and put it so it's sitting inside these L brackets here. Now if you've got somebody to help you, fantastic, one either side. Make sure you don't lift underneath the drum, otherwise you'll squash your fingers when you're putting it in. The best way to do it is to actually use these hooks on top to lift. Now there's only me by myself. I'm going to do it like this. Make sure you bend your knees, straighten your back, drop it into place. Perfect. We can now go ahead and put screws into the 1, 2, 3, 4 screws on the left and right side. Once the drum is on and the 4 screws are tightened up, you can go ahead and do the screws on the inside up, just making sure, of course, we're on flat piece of ground. It's now time to put the hopper assembly into the drum. Start off by undoing these 4 bolts and putting off to the side. We need these. Note this white thing here is a gasket. Do not take this off. This is helping to seal between the drum and the hopper. What I normally do is put these 4 screws over inside the drum here. A little bit of tape, take that off. Pull this cable out from the inside. This is the temperature cable, which we need to connect across to the cable over here. And just put this cable over the back for the moment, just like that. What we can do now is we can go ahead and slide this whole assembly in through this hole. Use your friend or a thigh to hold this in place while you connect the 2 cables together. These are the temperature cables, which are running from the temperature sensor on the inside of the grill to the controller. Click those together and we can leave those dangling down here for the moment. Let's push this forward and then we can grab our bolts and start off with the top ones. Finger tight is fine. Using our spanner, go ahead and do those up. At this point you might notice there's a screw left over. That's fine, there's a spare screw. One of the nice things about assembling a Z grill is there's plenty of opportunities to get really good exercise, especially for your lower body. This is no exception. So nice light fitting pants is really good. Nice squat down here, reach underneath, and if you twist around, you'll feel there's a twisty cable and voila, power cable drops out. We've now got a twisty tie we can use to neatly bundle up our temperature probe cable like this. Twist that around, and all we have to do is tuck that neatly down the side here so it's out of view. Next we can put the handle on the grill lid. We're using one of the hex bolts and big fat washer. That's a technical term for it, the big fat washer. Start off nice and loose until they're aligned, and then you can do them up tight. Next is the chimney stack. Now make sure you don't throw away this white gasket here because we need this right now. This is a little bit tricky to do by yourself. It's great to have a friend to hold things in place, and you want one of these hex bolts, a washer, and a nut on the inside. Use your belly to hold this in place, works great. Use 2 opposing spanners to do these up. Put the chimney cap on, just screw it down in place, like so, and then you can just tighten it up. Okay, chimney cap is done. Put the handles on the doors, nice and easy. To put the doors on, fixed pin goes into this hole at the bottom. Pull the little pin down and then it pops up into a hole. We're on a bit of a slope here, and as you can see, the doors are not aligned properly. So what we want to do is we're going to loosen off some of the screws on the inside, rotate this around onto a flatter piece of ground, and then we can level everything up. And now everything is level. Opens and closes. Okay, job done. Everything is put together and we're ready to go through the startup and burn-in procedure, which we'll show you in another video. Good work.